in the interwebs on the social media over the weekend that were panning the signing of Ryan Stanek. Why would you not like the Cardinals signing a pitcher? I don't get that.
That's my take on that.
No, you make a good point.
Let me say one thing about Ryan. Hang on. Ryan has greatly improved from when he started.
The St. Louis Cardinals just made a move that has Cardinal Nation buzzing in a way we haven't felt in a long time. And no, this isn't one of those flashy, headline-dominating signings that hijacks ESPN's homepage for 48 hours before everyone moves on. This is something different. This is the kind of move that sneaks up on you, grows on you, and then suddenly makes you realize the front office may actually have a plan. While other teams are sitting around waiting for the so-called big names to make up their minds, while fans refresh Twitter every 5 minutes hoping for a blockbuster, Chaim Bloom is quietly getting to work. Calculated, deliberate, and unapologetically focused on fixing one of the biggest weaknesses this organization has had for years. The Cardinals have agreed to terms on a 1-year, $3.5 million deal with veteran reliever Ryan Stanek, a World Series champion, a triple-digit flamethrower, and a St. Louis native coming home. And the more you dig into this move, the more it starts to feel like exactly the kind of signing this team needed, not just from a baseball standpoint, but from an identity standpoint. Because let's be honest, for far too long, the Cardinals' bullpen has been defined by what it lacks. A lack of swing and miss stuff. A lack of intimidation. A lack of pitchers who can step on the mound in a high-leverage moment and simply dare hitters to beat them. Too many nibblers. Too many contact-first arms. Too many innings where fans are holding their breath praying the ball is hit directly at someone. Ryan Stanek is the opposite of that experience. This is a pitcher who doesn't tiptoe around hitters. This is a guy who grabs the baseball, grips it tight, and throws it as hard as he possibly can. We're talking about a reliever who averaged 98.5 miles per hour on his four-seam fastball last season, ranking in the 96th percentile across all of Major League Baseball. Only 4% of pitchers in the entire league threw harder than Ryan Stanek in 2025. That's not Cardinals spin, that's raw data. And when you watch him pitch, you feel that velocity. Hitters feel rushed, swings get late, foul balls get snapped straight back. Even when he's not perfect, even when the command wavers, the pure power of his arsenal forces hitters to speed up their internal clocks. That alone changes the dynamic of a bullpen. But there's so much more to this story than radar gun readings. Because Ryan Stanek isn't just a power arm. He's not just a guy chasing one last contract. He's a hometown kid, born in St. Louis, Missouri, a player who now gets to put on the uniform of the team tied to his earliest baseball memories. And while he didn't grow up right in the city, graduating from high school in Stillwater, Kansas before starring at the University of Arkansas, his roots are here. His family is here. His story starts here. There is something undeniably powerful about that, about pitching in front of people who watched you grow up, about walking into Busch Stadium, not as a visitor, not as a hired gun passing through, but as someone who belongs. For some players, that pressure is too much. For others, it's fuel. And Stanek has already proven he can thrive when the stakes are highest. Let's talk about that championship pedigree. Ryan Stanek was a key member of the Houston Astros' bullpen during their 2022 World Series run. Not a bystander, not a guy watching from the bullpen bench. He appeared in 59 games that season and posted a microscopic 1.15 ERA. Let that number sit for a moment. 1.15. That's not just good, that's elite, that's dominance. That's the kind of performance that puts you in the conversation as one of the most reliable relief arms in baseball. He struck out 62 batters in just over 54 innings that year, more than a strikeout per inning. And when October arrived, when everything tightens, when every pitch feels heavier, when mistakes end seasons, Stanek didn't flinch. He didn't allow a single run in 4 postseason appearances. 0. When the Astros needed outs on the biggest stage, he delivered. That version of Ryan Stanek is still burned into the minds of scouts and front offices across the league. And that's why, even after 2 difficult seasons, teams kept coming back. Because the stuff never disappeared. The question was never about velocity, it was about health. It was about command. It was about whether he could put everything back together again. The past 2 seasons have been rough. There's no sugarcoating that. In 2024, injuries limited him to just 17 appearances. He posted a 6.06 ERA and never looked fully comfortable on the mound. When a pitcher can't trust his arm, everything unravels. Mechanics get inconsistent, release points drift, confidence erodes. Stanek was fighting his body as much as opposing hitters. In 2025, the velocity came roaring back. The arm strength was there, the radar gun lit up again, but the command lagged behind. In 56 innings with the Mets, Stanek walked 32 batters. That's more than 5 walks per 9 innings. That's a problem. You simply can't live in the strike zone shadow and survive consistently at the major league level. And yet, even in a season where his ERA ballooned to 5.30, the underlying indicators told a more nuanced story. His whiff rate sat at 27.8%, ranking in the 71st percentile. His chase rate was 30%, putting him in the 72nd percentile. Hitters were still missing. Hitters were still expanding the zone. The stuff was still electric. This is where the Cardinals see opportunity. Because this front office isn't paying for what Ryan Stanek was in 2024-2025. They're paying for what he could be if even part of that 2022 version resurfaces. They're paying for upside, and they've structured the contract in a way that protects the organization while giving Stanek every incentive to succeed. 1 year, $3.5 million, with a $6 million club option for 2027. That option is everything. If Stanek finds his command, if Dusty Blake and the pitching staff help clean up his mechanics, if the walks come down even slightly, the Cardinals suddenly have a high-leverage, high-velocity reliever at an absolute bargain price. $6 million for a pitcher throwing 98-plus with postseason experience would be a steal in today's market. And if it doesn't work, if the command issues persist, if injuries resurface, the Cardinals walk away having spent a manageable amount of money with no long-term commitment. That's smart roster construction. That's calculated risk. This signing also fits perfectly into Chaim Bloom's broader offseason strategy. The Cardinals' bullpen was completely gutted at last year's trade deadline. Ryan Helsley, Phil Maton, Steven Matz, all gone. The organization made it clear they were prioritizing the future over a short-term push. But that decision came with consequences. The bullpen entering this offseason was thin, inexperienced, and lacking defined roles. Bloom didn't try to fix everything with one move. Instead, he's layering the bullpen with different profiles: veteran lefties, power right-handers, reclamation projects, depth arms. Earlier, the Cardinals added Justin Brule to bring another left-handed option into the mix. Now with Stanek, they've added pure velocity from the right side. This isn't about finding the closer in January. It's about building a bullpen that gives Oliver Marmol options. About having multiple arms capable of handling high-leverage situations instead of forcing one pitcher into a role he's not suited for. Modern bullpens don't operate on rigid titles anymore. The best relievers pitch when the game is on the line, regardless of inning. And Stanek's skill set fits that philosophy perfectly. Need a strikeout with runners on second and third in the 6th? He can do that. Need to neutralize the heart of the order in the 7th? He can do that. Need someone who isn't afraid of the moment? He's proven that already. And there's another layer to this move that can't be ignored. If the Cardinals aren't competitive by midseason, and let's be realistic, that remains a strong possibility, Ryan Stanek becomes an extremely attractive trade chip. Contending teams always need bullpen help. Always. A hard-throwing right-hander with playoff experience who's pitching well in the first half of the season would generate legitimate interest at the deadline. We've seen this movie before. The Cardinals have turned short-term bullpen investments into prospect returns repeatedly. Helsley, Maton, Kittredge. The blueprint is there. Stanek could help the Cardinals win games or help them build for the future, depending on where the season goes. That flexibility matters. And then there's the emotional component. Pitching for your hometown team isn't just a nice story. It can change how a player approaches the game. It can sharpen focus. It can add urgency. Stanek isn't just trying to revive his career. He's doing it in front of the people who matter most to him. In a ballpark that carries weight. In an organization that values winning the right way. Imagine the scene. Busch Stadium, late summer. The Cardinals clinging to a 1-run lead. Bases loaded. Crowd on its feet. Ryan Stanek jogs in from the bullpen. The radar gun flashes 99. The slider snaps off the plate. Strike 3. Inning over. That's the vision the Cardinals are buying into. Of course, none of this is guaranteed. The walks are real. The recent struggles are real. But so is the upside. So is the track record. So is the raw stuff. And that's what makes this signing fascinating. It's not safe. It's not flashy. It's smart. It tells you the Cardinals understand where they are. They're not pretending they're one move away from a title. They're not chasing headlines. They're identifying inefficiencies, betting on talent, and giving themselves multiple paths forward. Ryan Stanek is a gamble, but it's a calculated one. And sometimes, those are the bets that change everything. So now it's your turn. Do you believe Ryan Stanek can rediscover his 2022 form in St. Louis? Do you think the hometown connection gives him an extra edge? Or are you skeptical after the past 2 seasons? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Smash the like button if you appreciate deep Cardinals analysis. And if you want coverage of every single move this front office makes, the smart ones, the risky ones, and everything in between, hit that subscribe button. Because the Cardinals aren't done yet, and this offseason is just getting interesting.